Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the 8 hours you spend sleeping every night could be the most powerful transformation time of your entire day? Most people think sleep is just rest, but ancient wisdom reveals something completely different about what really happens when your conscious mind shuts down. Your subconscious mind never sleeps. While your body rests, your deeper mind processes everything, every thought, every emotion, every belief that shapes your reality. Tonight, we are going to explore how to work with this natural process to create profound shifts in your life. This isn't just theory. This is practical wisdom that has been tested for thousands of years. Here's what most people don't understand about their mind. Every single day, you're programming your subconscious with thoughts, emotions, and patterns, but you're doing it completely by accident. You go to sleep worried about tomorrow's meeting. You drift off thinking about arguments from earlier. You fall asleep with your mind racing about all the things that went wrong today. Your subconscious doesn't judge these thoughts. It doesn't say, oh, this is just worry or this is just stress. It simply receives whatever you give it and starts working with that material all night long. It's like having the world's most powerful computer running programs you never consciously chose to install. Think about this for a moment. If you had a garden, would you just throw random seeds everywhere and hope for the best? Of course not. You choose your seeds carefully, plant them in good soil, and tend to them with intention. Yet most people treat their minds like wild gardens, letting whatever thoughts happen to be there at bedtime become the seeds for their subconscious transformation. The result, people wake up feeling the same way they felt when they went to sleep. They carry the same worries, the same limiting beliefs, the same emotional patterns day after day. They wonder why their lives don't change, why they keep attracting the same situations, why they feel stuck in the same cycles. The answer lies in what happens during those 8 hours when they think nothing important is happening. But there's another way. There's an ancient understanding of how to use sleep as a time of conscious transformation rather than unconscious repetition. This isn't about forcing your mind to think positive thoughts. It's about understanding how your deeper mind actually works and learning to cooperate with its natural processes. The nature of subconscious programming. Your subconscious mind operates on a completely different level than your regular thinking mind. And understanding this difference is absolutely crucial if you want to create real change in your life. When you're awake and thinking normally, your mind acts like a careful judge. It analyzes every piece of information, decides whether it's true or false, useful or useless, good or bad. It questions everything, doubts things that don't fit with what it already believes, and tries to make sense of the world through logic and reasoning. But your subconscious mind doesn't work that way at all. It doesn't judge or analyze or decide whether something makes sense. Instead, it simply receives whatever you give it and starts working with that material immediately. Think of it like the difference between a movie critic sitting in a theater and the actual projector showing the film. The critic watches the movie and forms opinions about it. Maybe they think the plot doesn't make sense, or the acting is poor, or the ending is unsatisfying, but the projector doesn't have opinions about what it's showing. It just takes whatever film reel you load into it and projects that onto the screen. Whether it's a horror movie or a comedy or a documentary, your subconscious mind is like that projector. Whatever thoughts, emotions, images, or ideas you consistently feed into it become the material it uses to create your reality. It doesn't question whether these inputs are good for you or bad for you. It doesn't wonder if they're true or false. It simply takes what you give it and uses that as the blueprint for how you think, feel, and behave in the world. This becomes incredibly important when you understand what happens during sleep. When you're awake, your analytical mind is like a security guard at the door of your subconscious. It screams everything that tries to get in, accepting some thoughts and rejecting others based on whether they fit with your existing beliefs and patterns. But when you fall asleep, that security guard goes off duty. Your analytical mind becomes quiet and relaxed, and your subconscious becomes incredibly open and receptive to whatever material is present. This is actually one of the most powerful states your mind can enter for creating change. During sleep, your subconscious has direct access to your deepest patterns and programs. It's like having administrator-level access to the operating system of your mind. Any information that reaches your subconscious during this time can literally rewrite your mental and emotional programs at the most fundamental level. But here's the problem that most people never realize they have. They go to bed every night full of completely random material. Stress from work, worries about tomorrow, fragments of conversations they had during the day, images from whatever they were watching on TV or scrolling through on their phones. The subconscious mind takes all of this random, often negative material and spends the entire night reinforcing it, making it stronger and more automatic. Imagine if every night you accidentally loaded a film reel full of your worst fears, biggest worries, and most limiting beliefs into that mental projector, and then it played that content for 8 hours straight. That's essentially what happens when you fall asleep without being intentional about what you're feeding your subconscious mind. You wake up the next morning carrying the same emotional burdens, thinking the same limiting thoughts, and feeling stuck in the same patterns because you've literally spent 8 hours programming yourself to remain stuck. But when you understand how this process works, everything changes. Instead of letting random thoughts and worries program your subconscious by accident, you can choose what to focus on as you drift into sleep. You can deliberately plant seeds of wisdom, peace, clarity, and positive transformation in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. You can load the film reel with content that actually serves your growth and well-being rather than content that keeps you trapped in old patterns. This isn't about positive thinking or trying to force yourself to have good thoughts. It's about understanding that your subconscious mind is always working with some kind of material. So you might as well give it the best possible material to work with. When you fall asleep listening to wisdom teachings about inner peace, your subconscious spends the night integrating those concepts of peace into your deeper pattern. When you drift off while absorbing ideas about mental clarity and emotional balance, your subconscious uses that as the blueprint for how to think and feel. The beautiful thing about this process is that it requires no effort or strain on your part. You are not trying to memorize information or force yourself to change. You're simply providing better raw material for the natural transformation process that happens every single night. Your subconscious mind wants to help you grow and evolve. It just needs the right input to work with the power of receptive states. The transition between being awake and falling asleep is one of the most extraordinary and underutilized opportunities for personal transformation that exists in human experience. During this magical window of time, something profound happens in your brain and consciousness that creates conditions perfect for deep lasting change. Your brain waves begin to slow down from the rapid beta waves of normal waking consciousness into the gentler alpha and theta waves associated with deep relaxation and heightened receptivity. Your analytical mind, which normally acts like a protective barrier around your deeper consciousness, starts to relax its vigilant guard and become soft and permeable. This state is actually more receptive and open than almost any other state of consciousness you can naturally access. It's more receptive than meditation because in meditation you're often still maintaining some level of conscious awareness and control. It's more open than prayer because prayer usually involves some degree of mental effort or intention. It's even more direct and powerful than deliberate attempts to change yourself through willpower or positive thinking because those approaches often trigger resistance from your analytical mind. Ancient wisdom traditions around the world recognize this transition time as sacred and precious. They understood that the moments just before sleep offered a unique doorway into the deeper layers of consciousness. They didn't waste these precious moments scrolling through their phones or worrying about the next day's problems. Instead, they used this time intentionally to reflect on wisdom, to set positive intentions for their growth, and to align their deeper minds with their highest values and aspirations. What these ancient practitioners discovered through centuries of careful observation is now being confirmed by modern neuroscience research. Scientists have identified this pre-sleep transition period as the hypnagogic state, a unique condition of consciousness where your brain is neither fully awake nor fully asleep, but somewhere in between. During this hypnagogic state, your subconscious mind becomes incredibly suggestible and open to new information and programming. The normal resistance that your conscious mind puts up against new ideas or changes completely dissolves, creating a direct pathway to your deeper patterns and beliefs. But here's what most people completely miss about working with this powerful state. They think it's about forcing positive thoughts into their minds or mechanically repeating affirmations over and over again. They try to use this receptive time to hammer new beliefs into their subconscious through repetition and willpower. This approach not only doesn't work very well, but it actually works against the natural receptivity of this state. When you try to force or manufacture change, you're engaging your analytical mind, which immediately reduces your receptivity and creates resistance. The real power of the state comes through what you might call receptive listening, creating open, spacious awareness and allowing wisdom to enter naturally rather than trying to push it in through effort. It's like the difference between trying to force water through a closed faucet versus simply opening the faucet and allowing the water to flow. When you enter a state of receptive listening, you're not trying to do anything or make anything happen. You're simply creating space and allowing your deeper mind to absorb whatever wisdom or peace or clarity is available. This is why listening to teachings about inner peace, mental clarity, or emotional balance as you drift off to sleep can be so incredibly powerful. You're not trying to study these teachings or analyze their meaning or memorize their content. You're not even trying to believe them or apply them to your life. You're simply allowing these deeper truths to bypass your analytical mind completely and speak directly to your subconscious patterns. You're letting wisdom reprogram you at the deepest possible level without any effort or resistance on your part. The voice and consciousness behind the teachings matters tremendously during this receptive state. When you listen to someone speaking from genuine inner peace and wisdom, your subconscious doesn't just absorb the words they're saying. It absorbs the state of consciousness those words are coming from. It's like your deeper mind learns to resonate with that frequency of peace and clarity. Over time, with consistent exposure, your own natural state begins to shift in that direction. This receptive state is truly a gift that your consciousness offers you every single night. It's your opportunity to step out of the mental patterns and emotional reactions that dominate your waking hours and plant seeds of transformation in the deepest soil of your being. Working with natural rhythms, your mind operates according to natural rhythms and cycles. Just like every other aspect of your body and being, and learning to work with these rhythms rather than against them is absolutely essential for creating lasting transformation. Just as your body has natural rhythms of activity and rest, hunger and satiation, alertness and fatigue, your mind has natural rhythms of openness and closeness, receptivity and analysis, integration and expression. Most people never pay attention to these mental rhythms, which is why they often struggle to create the changes they want in their lives. They're working against their own natural cycles instead of cooperating with them. There are certain times when your mind is naturally more active, analytical, and focused on external tasks and problem solving. During these times, your consciousness is oriented outward, dealing with the practical demands of daily life, making decisions, and navigating social interactions. Your analytical mind is at its strongest during these periods, which makes them perfect for work, planning, and logical thinking, but not very good for deep transformation or spiritual insight. But there are also times when your mind naturally becomes more receptive, reflective, and open to deeper influences. During these periods, your consciousness turns inward, your analytical defenses lower, and you become much more susceptible to positive change and growth. Sleep is the ultimate receptive time, but the hour or two before sleep is equally important and powerful. This period is like a bridge between your active external consciousness and your receptive internal consciousness. This is why the ancient practice of evening reflection was such a cornerstone of spiritual and personal development traditions around the world. But this wasn't reflection in the modern sense of analyzing your day or judging your performance or trying to solve tomorrow's problems. It was reflection in the deeper sense of creating clear, peaceful mental space and preparing your consciousness for rest and renewal. It's like the difference between cleaning your house by frantically organizing and rearranging things versus cleaning your house by removing clutter and creating spacious, harmonious environment. During this pre-leap transition time, your job is not to be productive or accomplish things or figure out solutions to your problems. Your job is to release the mental and emotional tensions you've accumulated during the day. Quiet the constant chatter of your thinking mind and create receptive space for deeper wisdom to enter. This might look like putting away all electronic devices and digital distractions that keep your mind in active analytical mode. It might mean spending a few minutes in gentle breathing or simple awareness practices that help shift your consciousness from external focus to internal receptivity. It might mean listening to wisdom teachings that guide your mind into progressively deeper states of peace and understanding. The key insight here is that you want to work with your natural rhythms rather than fighting against. Many people make the mistake of trying to use their sleep time for mental activity. They lie in bed planning tomorrow's schedule, trying to solve work problems or analyzing their relationships and life situation. But this creates mental stimulation and activity at exactly the time when your mind needs to become quiet and receptive. It's like trying to plant seeds in soil while it's being plowed. The conditions just aren't right for growth. Other people make the opposite mistake of using their pre-sleep time for random entertainment or stimulation. They scroll through social media, watch exciting or dramatic TV shows, or fill their minds with news and information right up until the moment they try to fall asleep. This floods their subconscious with random, often agitating content at exactly the time when it could be absorbing wisdom and peace instead. When you learn to align with your natural rhythms, something beautiful happens. Sleep becomes effortless and transformation becomes natural. You're not trying to force your mind to be quiet or make yourself fall asleep or push yourself to change in specific ways. You're simply creating the right conditions and trusting your deeper mind to do what it naturally wants to do. Process the day's experiences, integrate new learning, and restore itself to balance and harmony. This alignment with natural rhythms extends beyond just the pre-sleep period into your entire approach to personal growth and change. Instead of trying to transform yourself through force, discipline, and constant effort, you learn to create supportive conditions and allow change to unfold organically. You begin to understand that the most profound transformations often happen gradually and gently through patient cultivation of better mental habits rather than dramatic breakthroughs or intense practice. Working with natural rhythms means recognizing that your mind, like a garden, has seasons of activity and seasons of rest, seasons of growth, and seasons of integration. When you honor these natural cycles, instead of trying to override them, you tap into a much deeper and more sustainable source of transformation and healing. The language of the subconscious. Your subconscious mind operates in a completely different language than your everyday thinking mind. And this difference is absolutely crucial to understand if you want to create real transformation during sleep. Why your conscious mind thinks primarily in words, concepts, and logical sequences. Your subconscious mind communicates through images, emotions, bodily sensations, and what you might call direct knowing or intuitive understanding. It's like the difference between reading a detailed written description of a sunset versus actually experiencing that sunset with all your senses. The direct experience carries infinitely more information and impact than any verbal description could ever convey. This is why so many people struggle when they try to program their subconscious minds using intellectual approaches or mechanical repetition of positive affirmations. They are essentially trying to communicate with the deeper mind using a foreign language that it doesn't naturally understand or respond to. When you repeat affirmations like "I am confident and successful" over and over again, your conscious mind might accept these words intellectually. But your subconscious mind often remains completely untouched because it doesn't process information in verbal conceptual formats. The language your subconscious mind understands best is the language of lived experience. the felt sense of what it's actually like to embody the qualities you want to develop. When you listen to wisdom teachings about inner peace before sleep, the transformation doesn't happen because you memorize the words or understand the concepts intellectually. The transformation happens because something in you begins to actually feel what peace is like, to experience the state of consciousness that the teachings are pointing toward, to embody the quality of awareness that emerges from genuine wisdom. This experiential quality is why the voice and presence behind wisdom teachings matter so tremendously for subconscious transformation. When you listen to someone speaking from authentic inner peace, your subconscious mind doesn't just hear the words they're saying. It attunes to the frequency of consciousness those words are emerging from. It's like your deeper mind learns to recognize and resonate with that particular quality of awareness. Your subconscious begins to understand what genuine peace actually feels like. Not as an intellectual concept, but as a lived reality that can be experienced and embodied. Think of your subconscious mind as an incredibly sophisticated tuning fork that naturally resonates with whatever frequency it's consistently exposed to. If you spend most of your time exposed to worry, stress, anxiety, and mental agitation, your subconscious mind tunes itself to those frequencies and begins generating more thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that match those states. But if you consistently expose your subconscious to wisdom, peace, clarity, and emotional balance, it gradually retunes itself to those higher frequencies instead. This retuning process happens most efficiently during sleep and the pre-sleep transition, when your conscious resistance is at its lowest and your receptivity is at its highest. During these states, your subconscious mind becomes incredibly permeable to whatever influences are present in your environment. It's like learning a new language through total immersion rather than through study and memorization. When you're immersed in a foreign culture, you don't learn the language by analyzing grammar rules and vocabulary lists. You absorb it naturally through constant exposure to how native speakers actually communicate. Similarly, when you fall asleep listening to teachings spoken from genuine wisdom and inner peace, you're not trying to understand or remember or analyze what's being said. You're simply allowing your deeper mind to absorb the frequency of consciousness behind the words. Over time, with consistent exposure, your own natural state begins to shift in that direction. You start thinking more clearly, not because you've learned new thinking techniques, but because clarity has become a more familiar frequency in your consciousness. You respond to challenges with greater emotional balance, not because you've memorized strategies for staying calm, but because inner peace has become a more natural and accessible state for you. The beauty of this process is its effortlessness and naturalness. You're not trying to force yourself to change or discipline yourself into new patterns. You're simply providing your subconscious mind with higher quality input and allowing it to do what it naturally does. Absorb, integrate, and express whatever consciousness it's most consistently exposed to. It's like upgrading the software that runs in the background of your mind, except the upgrade happens automatically through exposure rather than through effort or willpower. This understanding completely changes how you approach personal transformation. Instead of trying to change yourself through mental effort or positive thinking, you focus on consistently exposing your subconscious to the qualities of consciousness you want to embody. Instead of battling with your limitations and trying to overcome them through force, you simply spend more time in the presence of wisdom, peace, and clarity, allowing these qualities to gradually become more natural and familiar aspects of your own consciousness. Creating sacred space, the environment you create for sleep, has a profound impact on the quality of transformation that can occur during your rest. And this goes far beyond simple physical comfort or convenience. When you begin to understand sleep as a time of conscious transformation rather than just physical recovery, you start to realize that your sleeping environment is actually sacred space. A sanctuary where some of the most important work of your spiritual and emotional development takes place. Creating this sacred space requires attention not just to the obvious physical details, but to the more subtle energetic and psychological factors that either support or interfere with deep transformation. Sacred space begins with the principle of simplicity and intentionality. Your bedroom should feel fundamentally different from the spaces where you conduct your busy daytime activities. This means removing or minimizing anything that connects you to work, stress, entertainment, or mental stimulation. Electronic devices, televisions, computers, and even books or magazines can carry the energy of external demands and distractions into what should be a sanctuary of rest and renewal. When these items are present in your sleeping space, they send subtle signals to your subconscious that this is still a place where you need to be active, productive, or entertained rather than a place where you can completely let go and receive. The goal is to create an environment that communicates to every level of your being that this is special time and sacred space, distinctly different from the ordinary activities and concerns of daily life. This might mean keeping your bedroom clean and uncluttered, choosing colors and decorations that promote feelings of peace and tranquility, or even incorporating elements like soft lighting, natural materials, or gentle scents that help shift your consciousness from active mode into receptive mode. The key is that every element in your sleeping environment should support the message that this is a sanctuary devoted to rest, restoration, and positive transformation. But creating sacred space involves much more than just arranging your physical environment. It also requires attention to what you might call the energetic quality of your pre-sleep routine and transition process. If you're rushing to bed while your mind is still racing from the day's activities, still processing work problems or relationship conflicts or tomorrow's schedule, you're bringing all of that mental and emotional agitation into your sacred space. Your subconscious mind will spend the night working with whatever energy and consciousness you bring to bed with you. So it's essential to create some kind of transition process that helps shift your entire system from daytime mode into nighttime receptivity. This transition process doesn't have to be elaborate or time-consuming, but it does need to be intentional and consistent. It might involve simple practices like gentle stretching or breathing exercises that help release physical tension and mental stress. It might mean spending a few minutes in quiet reflection, not analyzing your day, but simply allowing your mind to become still and spacious. It might involve gratitude practices that help shift your focus from problems and concerns toward appreciation and positive recognition. The specific practices matter less than the intention to create a clear boundary between your active daytime consciousness and your receptive nighttime consciousness. The audio environment of your sleeping space deserves special attention because your subconscious mind remains highly sensitive to sound even during deep sleep. Harsh, sudden or stimulating sounds can keep your nervous system activated and your stress hormones elevated even when you're not consciously aware of any disturbance. This is why many people wake up feeling tired even after what seemed like a full night's sleep. Their deeper systems never fully relaxed because the audio environment wasn't truly supportive of deep rest and restoration. On the other hand, gentle, wise, calming sounds can actually guide your entire system into progressively deeper states of relaxation and receptivity throughout the night. This is where wisdom teachings become incredibly valuable as part of your sacred sleep environment. Unlike music, which primarily affects your emotional and aesthetic sensibilities, or nature sounds, which primarily help calm your nervous system, wisdom teachings speak directly to your deeper patterns of understanding and consciousness. They offer your subconscious mind new models and possibilities for how to think, feel, perceive, and respond to life's challenges and opportunities. When you fall asleep listening to teachings about inner peace, emotional balance, mental clarity, or spiritual wisdom, you're essentially providing your subconscious with blueprints for these elevated states of consciousness. Your deeper mind spends the night absorbing and integrating these possibilities, gradually making them more familiar and accessible aspects of your own awareness. Over time, this creates profound shifts in your default patterns of thinking and feeling. But the changes feel natural and organic, rather than forced or artificial, because they emerge from deep absorption rather than surface effort. The ripple effect of nocturnal transformation. The transformation that occurs during your sleep hours creates ripple effects that extend far beyond the 8 hours you spend in bed each night. Every pattern, belief, emotional tendency, and state of consciousness that you cultivate during sleep becomes part of the foundation from which you operate during your waking hours. This is why developing a consistent practice of conscious sleep preparation can create such profound and lasting changes in every area of your life. The work you do on yourself at night literally shapes who you become during the day. Think about it this way. During sleep, your subconscious mind is like a master craftsman working in a workshop using whatever raw materials you provide to build the mental and emotional structures that will support your waking consciousness. If you consistently provide high-quality materials in the form of wisdom, peace, and clarity, your subconscious builds strong, stable structures of inner calm, clear thinking, and emotional balance. If you provide poor-quality materials in the form of worry, stress, and mental agitation, your subconscious has no choice but to build weak, unstable structures that create more anxiety, confusion, and emotional reactivity in your daily life. When you spend your sleep time absorbing teachings about inner peace, something remarkable happens to your capacity for remaining calm during challenging situations. You don't just intellectually know that peace is important. You've actually spent hundreds of hours allowing your subconscious mind to integrate the felt experience of what genuine peace is like. So when you encounter stress during the day, instead of immediately reacting with anxiety or frustration, you have a deep reservoir of peaceful awareness to draw from. It's not that you never feel challenged anymore, but your default response becomes more centered and balanced. Similarly, when you fall asleep night after night, listening to teachings about mental clarity and wise decision-making, you're literally programming your subconscious mind with patterns of clear thinking. During sleep, your deeper mind absorbs these patterns and makes them part of your natural mental operating system. So during the day, when you're faced with complex decisions or confusing situations, you find yourself naturally thinking more clearly, seeing situations from multiple perspectives and making choices that align with your deeper wisdom rather than just your immediate impulses or emotional reactions. The same principle applies to emotional balance and resilience. When you consistently expose your sleeping mind to teachings about emotional wisdom and balanced responses to life's challenges, your subconscious mind gradually rewires your emotional patterns. You don't just learn techniques for managing difficult emotions. You actually develop a more stable and balanced emotional foundation. You find yourself naturally responding to disappointments, conflicts, and setbacks with greater equanimity, not because you are suppressing your feelings, but because your emotional system has been trained to maintain its center even during turbulent times. This process isn't magic or wishful thinking. It's the natural result of understanding and cooperating with how your mind actually works. Your subconscious mind is always processing and integrating experiences, always building and reinforcing patterns, always creating the mental and emotional infrastructure that supports your conscious experience. The question is never whether transformation will occur during sleep. Transformation is always occurring. The real question is what kind of transformation will take place based on the material you provide for your subconscious to work with. Most people experience what you might call unconscious transformation during sleep. They go to bed with their minds full of random thoughts, worries, entertainment, or stress, and their subconscious mind spends the night reinforcing whatever patterns were already dominant. If they went to sleep worried about work, they wake up still carrying that. If they went to sleep feeling frustrated with their relationships, they wake up with that frustration still active in their system. Their sleep time reinforces their existing patterns rather than transforming them. But with conscious intention and consistent practice, you can experience deliberate transformation during sleep instead of accidentally reinforcing limiting patterns. You can consciously strengthen the mental and emotional qualities you want to develop. Instead of waking up carrying the same burdens you went to sleep with, you can wake up with expanded capacities for wisdom, peace, clarity, and emotional balance. The beauty of this approach to personal transformation lies in its gentleness and naturalness. You're not trying to force yourself to change through intense effort, strict discipline, or constant willpower. You're not battling against your existing patterns or trying to overcome your limitations through struggle. Instead, you're simply creating optimal conditions and allowing your deeper mind to naturally evolve in positive directions. It's very much like tending a garden. A wise gardener doesn't try to force plants to grow faster or struggle against the natural seasons. Instead, they plant good seeds, provide rich soil, ensure adequate water and sunlight, and then trust the natural growth process to unfold. Similarly, when you plant seeds of wisdom and peace in the fertile soil of your sleeping consciousness, provide the right conditions through consistent practice, and trust your subconscious mind's natural capacity for growth and transformation. Profound changes unfold organically over time beyond temporary relief. When most people think about improving their sleep or creating better bedtime routines, they're usually looking for temporary relief from immediate problems. Help falling asleep faster, sleeping more deeply, or waking up feeling more rested. While these goals are certainly worthwhile, and the approaches that address them can be genuinely helpful, they often miss the much deeper opportunity that conscious sleep preparation offers. There's a fundamental difference between seeking temporary comfort and creating lasting transformation. And understanding this difference can completely change how you approach your sleep practice. Temporary relief focuses primarily on symptom management, finding ways to feel better in the moment without necessarily addressing the underlying causes of whatever discomfort you're experiencing. If you're having trouble falling asleep, temporary relief might come from sleep medications, relaxation apps, or breathing techniques that help calm your nervous system enough to drift off. If you're waking up feeling tired and stressed, temporary relief might involve caffeine motivational podcasts or morning routines designed to boost your energy and mood. These approaches can certainly be valuable, and there's nothing wrong with seeking comfort when you need it. But when temporary relief becomes your primary strategy, you often find yourself in a cycle of constantly managing symptoms without ever addressing their root causes. You might succeed in getting better sleep on any given night, but the underlying patterns that created your sleep difficulties in the first place remain unchanged. You're essentially using band-aids to cover wounds that need deeper healing. Transformation, on the other hand, focuses on changing the fundamental patterns and structures that create your experiences in the first place. When you use sleep time for conscious transformation rather than just temporary relief, you're not simply trying to get through another night of rest. You're actively reshaping the basic programming of how your mind works. The deep beliefs, emotional patterns, and unconscious habits that determine how you think, feel, and respond to life's challenges and opportunities. This transformational approach is why consistency becomes so crucially important in conscious sleep practice. One night of listening to wisdom teachings before sleep might indeed help you rest more peacefully and wake up feeling somewhat clearer or more centered. But one night of practice, while beneficial, won't significantly alter the deep subconscious patterns that have been reinforced through years or decades of unconscious programming. However, 30 nights of consistent practice begins to create noticeable shifts in your mental and emotional patterns. 60 nights starts to establish new default states of consciousness. 90 nights can literally rewire subconscious programming at fundamental levels. After months of consistent practice, you begin to think differently, feel differently, and respond to life differently. Not through conscious effort or willpower, but through the natural result of having provided your subconscious mind with better programming material night after night. The ancient wisdom Pridifon understood this principle of gradual, consistent cultivation better than perhaps any other aspect of human development. The great masters and teachers throughout history knew that genuine transformation doesn't usually happen through dramatic breakthroughs, intense peak experiences, or heroic efforts of will. Instead, the most profound and lasting changes occur through patient, steady cultivation of better mental and spiritual habits over extended periods of time. They understood that the human mind is very much like water in its natural tendency to flow in whatever channels have been carved for it. If you spend years unconsciously digging mental channels of worry, stress, reactivity, and inner turmoil, your thoughts and emotions will naturally continue flowing in those familiar. But if you begin consciously digging new channels of wisdom, peace, clarity, and emotional balance through consistent practice, your mind will gradually begin flowing in these new, more positive directions instead. This is why the most profound transformations often happen so gradually that they're almost imperceptible in the short term. You don't typically wake up one morning to discover that you've become a completely different person overnight. Instead, over weeks and months of consistent practice, you gradually begin to notice subtle but significant changes in how you experience. You find yourself less reactive to stressful situations that used to trigger intense anxiety or anger. You discover that you're naturally making wiser choices and better decisions without having to struggle or force yourself to do the right thing. You realize that states of inner peace and emotional balance have become more familiar and accessible than they used to be. These changes feel completely natural because they are natural. They're the result of working with your mind's inherent capacity for growth and evolution rather than against it. The integration of wisdom and rest. One of the most limiting misconceptions in our culture is the belief that rest and growth are fundamentally separate activities, that you must choose between resting your body and mind or actively working on your personal development. But you cannot do both at the same time. This false dichotomy causes countless people to sacrifice essential rest in favor of productivity, or to treat rest as nothing more than the absence of meaningful. They view sleep as dead time, as hours that must be endured before they can get back to the real work of living and growing. But this understanding completely misses the profound truth about how real transformation actually occurs. True rest is not the absence of growth or the opposite of development. It is actually the optimal condition for the deepest and most lasting growth to take place. When your body rests, it doesn't simply stop working. Instead, it shifts into repair and regeneration mode, rebuilding tissue, strengthening immune function, and restoring energy reserves. Similarly, when your mind rests, it doesn't become inactive. Rather, it enters into its most powerful processing and integration state, organizing experiences, consolidating learning, and transforming raw information into wisdom and understanding. The deepest and most profound growth often happens not during periods of intense effort, struggle, or conscious striving, but during states of deep relaxation, receptivity, and trust. This is because growth requires not just the input of new information or experiences, but also the space and stillness necessary for that input to be properly absorbed, integrated, and transformed into lasting. It's like the difference between trying to plant seeds in soil that's being constantly disturbed versus planting them in rich, still earth where they can take root and grow naturally. This understanding reveals why combining wisdom teachings with sleep preparation creates such a uniquely powerful opportunity for transformation. You're not being forced to choose between getting the rest your body and mind desperately need and engaging in meaningful personal development. Instead, you're creating the perfect conditions where both deep rest and profound growth can occur simultaneously and synergistically. Your body receives the physical restoration it requires, while your mind absorbs the wisdom and understanding it craves. The integration of wisdom and rest happens through the natural architecture of your sleep cycles. Throughout the night, your brain moves through different stages of sleep, each serving specific functions in processing the day's experiences, consolidating important memories, and integrating new learning into your existing knowledge structure. During REM sleep, your brain is particularly active in making connections between new information and existing patterns, essentially rewiring itself based on what you've recently observed. When you provide your mind with wisdom teachings as you drift into sleep, you're giving your brain high-quality material to work with during these natural integration periods. Instead of processing random fragments of information, worry, or entertainment, your sleeping mind spends its integration time working with concepts of peace, wisdom, clarity, and emotional. It's like providing your subconscious mind with premium building materials rather than scraps and leftovers. Think of this process as providing nutritious food for your subconscious mind. Just as your physical body can only build healthy tissue, strong bones, and vibrant energy from quality nutrients, Your subconscious mind can only build healthy mental and emotional patterns from quality mental input. When you consistently feed your sleeping consciousness a diet of wisdom, peace, and clarity, it naturally begins constructing mental and emotional structures that reflect these elevated qualities. This integration process doesn't stop when you fall into deep sleep. It continues throughout the entire night and even extends into your dream life. Many people who develop consistent practices of listening to wisdom teachings before sleep report that their dreams gradually become more peaceful, insightful, and inspiring. This makes perfect sense when you understand that your dreams are essentially a reflection of the contents and activities of your subconscious mind. When you improve the quality of what your subconscious is working with, the quality of your dreams naturally improves as well. Some practitioners find that their dreams begin serving as a continuation of their wisdom practice, offering insights, solutions, and perspectives that feel like gifts from their deeper mind. Others notice that nightmares and anxiety dreams become less frequent and less intense as their subconscious becomes more accustomed to processing peaceful, wise content. Still, others discover that they begin receiving creative inspiration or practical guidance through their dreams, as if their sleeping mind has become a trusted advisor and teacher. The beautiful thing about this integration of wisdom and rest is that it requires no additional time or energy from your already busy life. You're not adding another task to your daily schedule or trying to squeeze personal development into an already packed routine. Instead, you're simply upgrading the quality of time you're already spending in sleep, transforming those 8 hours from passive recovery time into active transformation time. This approach honors both your need for genuine rest and your desire for meaningful growth, proving that these needs are not competing forces but complementary aspects of a balanced, evolving life. When rest and growth support each other in this way, both become deeper, more satisfying, and more effective than either could be on its own. The path forward. Understanding these principles and insights about the transformative power of conscious sleep preparation represents only the beginning of your journey. The real transformation emerges through consistent patient practice over time. But this practice doesn't require the kind of rigid discipline or forcing willpower that many people associate with personal development work. Instead, it calls for something gentler, but perhaps even more powerful. A sincere dedication to your own growth and well-being, combined with trust in your mind's natural capacity for positive change. The beauty of starting this practice lies in its simplicity and accessibility. You don't need special equipment, expensive programs, or complicated techniques. You don't need to dramatically restructure your life or commit to hours of additional daily practice. You simply need to begin approaching your existing sleep time with greater consciousness and intention, transforming something you're already doing into a powerful tool for personal transformation. Start with just one night this week as an experiment in conscious sleep preparation, but an hour before you plan to go to bed, begin creating the transition from your active daytime consciousness to your receptive nighttime awareness. Put away all electronic devices, phones, tablets, computers, televisions, anything that keeps your mind in active analytical mode or fills it with external stimulation. The ancient understanding of sleep as a time of transformation isn't just philosophical theory. It's practical wisdom that you can apply starting tonight. Your subconscious mind is waiting to receive whatever you choose to give it. The question is, what will you choose? Tonight, when you lay down to rest, remember that you're not just ending another day. You're beginning another opportunity for transformation. You're entering sacred time where wisdom can take root in the deepest parts of your being. You're participating in the ancient practice of conscious evolution through rest. The peace you decide to cultivate and the consciousness you commit to developing, it's as close as your next sleep cycle and as powerful as your willingness to receive. Sweet dreams carry within them the seeds of awakened days. Rest well, transform gently, and trust the process. Subscribe to continue your journey of conscious transformation. It's as close as your next sleep cycle and as powerful as your willingness to receive. Think about that for a moment. Every night, as you drift into sleep, you step into a space where the noise of the world fades and your mind resets. But here's the truth most people overlook: sleep isn't just about rest. It's a bridge a bridge between the exhaustion of today and the possibilities of tomorrow. Sweet dreams carry within them the seeds of awakened days. The mind never truly stops working. Even as you sleep, it is sorting, storing, repairing, and whispering truths you might be too busy to hear while awake. That's why some of your best ideas come in the morning. That's why clarity often appears after a good night's rest. And that's why transformation, real transformation, often begins with something as simple and natural as sleep. But here's the key you have to be willing to receive. Most people collapse into bed like they're running from the day instead of walking toward a new one. They bring their worries, their phones, their to-do lists into the night, never allowing themselves to truly surrender. What if you shifted that what if? Instead of seeing sleep as the end of the day, you began seeing it as the beginning of tomorrow's masterpiece. Rest well. Not just for your body, but for your dreams, your growth, your future. Rest as if you're planting seeds in the dark, trusting that they will break through the soil when the sun rises. Because transformation isn't always loud. It doesn't always announce itself with big, dramatic moments. Sometimes it moves quietly beneath the surface, like roots forming before the bloom. And yes, it requires trust. The process of becoming the person you were meant to be doesn't always give you instant results. There are seasons of waiting, nights of uncertainty. Times when it feels like nothing is happening, but beneath the surface everything is happening. Your mind is rewiring, your body is repairing, your spirit is preparing. So tonight when you close your eyes, know this. You're not just ending a day, you're stepping into the sacred work of renewal. You're aligning yourself with something far bigger than exhaustion and busyness. You're opening the door to conscious transformation. The journey doesn't stop when the sun sets. It continues gently, quietly while you rest. Trust the process. Give yourself permission to be renewed. And when you wake, step into the day knowing that even in your stillness, you were moving forward. Subscribe and continue the journey of conscious transformation. Because the life you dream of isn't as far away as it seems. Sometimes it's just one night's restand, one bold choice away.